Well, for me, it's a different thing. I mean, I've spent the last 20, 25 years focusing on different aspects of African American history, eyes on the prize, the rise and fall of Jim Crow and the levees broke, African American, I'll make me a world about African American artists. And so, part of my feeling and my responsibility as a documentary filmmaker is to keep our history front and center. And so when I heard about
this is a period of history that is so shrouded in myth and mystery.
I know. So when I first heard about Doug's book through another friend of mine, another colleague, we were able to get a copy of Doug's book that was in galleys, and we read it. We both read it, and it was a real eye opener for us. We said, "Wow, this is a history that no one really knows about." So we reached out to Doug. And he was in New York at the time, and we took him out for a couple of drinks, and we tried to persuade him to give us the option for the book.
Just not enough drinks.
we didn't give enough. And so after sort of going around and around for a few months, Doug decided not to go with us, not to give us the option. But he did end up giving the option to Twin Cities Public Television out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And when they were discussing hiring a director, producer to do the film, Doug was very kind enough to remember me. And so I got associated with it. And then we, as I was saying to some of the people here outside during the reception, making a documentary, as my colleague right in the back, David Lewis, knows, is a tough thing to do, because it's always about trying to figure out how to raise the money. And there's so many ways you can do it. And we, with Doug, myself, and Catherine Allen, who's the executive producer at Twin Cities Public Television, we put together a major and substantial proposal that was sent to the National Endowment of Humanities in 2008, 2009? 2009, and with the hopes that they would give us some money to get this thing off the ground. And about a year later, they came through with $750,000, which was a tremendous amount of money to get from the National Endowment of Humanities. But we still had to raise more, and we were able to raise more. And in the fall of 2010, we started production. We hired a new writer, a woman that Doug's going to see tomorrow up in Albany, Sheila Bernard, who I'd worked with at Eyes on the Prize. And we wrote a new script, reworked the script. Everybody jumped in, myself, Doug, Catherine. And we created a whole new structure, because the big challenge for filmmakers is to take a book that's over 400 pages, or almost 400 pages, and to do what? Turn it into an 82, 90-minute film, which is very difficult. So, we were able to sort of figure out who the characters were. Green Cottonham was one of Doug's major characters, and we wrangled with, so we tried to keep him in the film, and we figured out a way, everyone figured out a way to keep Doug in. We brought in Ezekiel Archie, we brought in John Davis. And we knew that those characters would help enable us to sort of give flesh and blood to the history, to really make the history come alive. And we went into production last January of 2011, and with our first 4 interviews, which was James Grossman and Delethea. She's not in this version.
No.
Mary Ellen Curtin and Doug. And then we interviewed Adam Green and David Levering Lewis. And we interviewed Khalil Muhammad and Pete Daniel, who's wonderful in this piece, who had also written about the period before Doug. And then we went down to Alabama, and we started to shoot the reenactments, which was, was fun. I mean, it was like real movie making. So we had a really good time doing that. And we came back, and then we went through what we call the post-production process of figuring out how to make the story come to life in the editing room, because it's one thing to figure out how you think you can do it on paper, but then to go shoot it, then to make it really come to life in the editing, because as all filmmakers know, documentary filmmakers know, is that you can have all the elements, but the story always changes and turns into something different when you're in the editing process. So it took us about 6 months to edit. And Doug can attest to the fact that there were sessions with him and myself and Catherine Allen and Sheila, and the editor, my son, Sam Pollard, where we were wrangling with structure and wrangling with the characters and wrangling with the direction of the film.
Each other.
And wrangling with each other. And we finally were able to really find the focus and sharpen and shape it. And we locked it in, I guess, in September. And then we were we were very fortunate to get into Sundance this year in competition, documentary competition. So it's been a long and very interesting and complex journey, and you always get to know people. Doug and I have really gotten to know each other, become friends, and you know, the wonderful thing about filmmaking to me is not only the material that you delve into, but the people that you get to know along the way. You know, so it's been a great experience, and I really appreciate the fact you invited us to come and show a little segment and talk to us about the film tonight.